All right, Max, let's start like this. We can say training camp is over, right? NHL games on Tuesday night. The Sharks roster is set. Fortunately, it seems like they haven't had too many injuries from camp to deal with. Thankfully, Celebrini's okay. A lot of competition, I know, for jobs in the end before it all shook out, but the entire league, you go team to team, everybody's optimistic about how their season's going to go. If you're the Sharks, at least you have the idea that you're now pointed in the right direction. What have you gauged from being around training camp?
The culture is changing. That's right away the biggest difference that's being instilled by Ryan Warsofsky, by the players, and talking with Jake Wallman today, getting off to a good start. I mean, he even said, even the fact that he was in Detroit last year, he keeps his eye around the league. He noticed the team wasn't doing well off the start. Guys around the league noticed this, and now that they're here, they want to change that. And Warsofsky's messaging is doing exactly that. Getting off to a more competitive start, becoming a more competitive team. The team is creating a culture that breeds winning. The winning culture can't be instilled yet until they start winning.
Right.
But that's my first instance, is the team is doing everything in their power to be more competitive and a better NHL team.
I think you've used the word team quite a few times already, but we know that externally there's going to be a huge focus on one, if not two, specific players for the Sharks. And Macklin Celebrini, number 1 overall draft pick from this past summer. Will Smith, the 4th overall draft pick from 2 NHL drafts ago. Yeah, they're going to get a lot of eyeballs, a lot of attention, and they're going to be very good players eventually. To what degree? I can't wait to find out. But have we quantified for them what reasonable expectations are this season? And have we also made sure everybody knows that those 2 players alone, how they do, how they don't do, that may not impact the overall team record on a bigger picture?
I think you could make that argument with more Macklin Celebrini about what he does will significantly impact what the team does. And I think you and I have talked about this before. I think I've told you, I think Will Smith isn't fully ready for the NHL, but I also don't think he's quite an AHL player. But I think he's got more leeway to kind of have a slow start, whereas Macklin is going to be expected to be the number 1 pick, the number 1 center, be the play driver on the top power play unit, on the number 1 line. Everything is like, you're now the guy who runs the show. We brought Tyler Toffoli in. You have Fabian Zetterlund. We have all these guys around you for you to succeed, but you got to drive it. And that's a lot to put on an 18-year-old. And so far, he's handled it with ease. Like, today was the first day we went in the locker room and there was no more connector people. When training camp is big, a lot of guys get changed in a different area and almost all the veterans get locker room spots.
Right.
Everybody's in the locker room now. First thing he said to us, we said to him, is it nice to be in here? He goes, yeah, it feels good to sit down, because we could sit down and relax and he could talk to him. And you could tell he was like, it's pretty cool just being in here. Will Smith told us, like, it's pretty surreal. Like, he still hasn't fully taken it in that he's in the NHL and he has a stall with his name on it and an NHL. Like, it's pretty, these kids are going to be relied upon a lot, but at the end of the day, they have a personality and they're enjoying it. And that's what's key for their successes. Are they going to have fun doing this? All signs point to yes.
Looking back at last year, Connor Bedard, the number 1 overall pick, he didn't necessarily struggle a lot with Chicago, but he did have the injury, had to sit out and come back from that. What happens if Celebrini and or Smith have a respective struggle? And I say that I don't wish that at all. How do you see them kind of getting through that this season? Because I think the team is going to let them try and play through, any rough spots or rough patches or growth spurts individually.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to let guys play through it. They're going to put them in positions to succeed. And I look at a guy like William Eklund last year, who was really struggling at center, but he didn't have much on his wing. And as soon as they moved him back to wing and they put him with Mikhail Granlund, everything kind of shifted. Even when he had a rough game, he was still doing things that bred success. Yeah. So when I look at the 2 lines that have Celebrini and Smith on them, Macklin Celebrini's got Zetterlund, who was with Granlund and Eklund last year, and Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah.
That's a good person. And who is Will Smith playing with? That's right. Or sorry, Eklund is with Toffoli and
Celebrini is with Toffoli.
And Zetterlund is with Granlund and Will Smith. Yeah. So you got veterans surrounded them. And on the 3rd line, you got Alex Wenberg in there. So let's say one of them gets hurt. You have guys that can shift, veteran players who can help them, teach them and help them through the struggles in every position on the team. Ryan Warsofsky does not strike me as a guy of, if you make 2 mistakes, you're benched. It was, hey, we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about this, but I need you to fix it. I think he's going to have a longer leash with them, not like free will. You can make as many mistakes as you want. But the way the team is set up, I think they're going to try and win a lot of games 5-3, 4-3, and let them grow their confidence and then really work on the defensive side of the game.
I really like Toffoli. I'm glad you mentioned his
Love it.
name, the 4-year deal, his veteran leadership. More on him later on. But now kind of going back to the team aspect, this is a Sharks group that finished last year 47 points, obviously won the draft lottery by having the NHL's worst record in part. Even a plus 20-point change from last season to this next season is still going to put them like at the bottom of the Pacific Division probably. Like even if they have tremendous strides, they have been in such a deep hole. How do you see this season going? How do you see the progress being made? I guess that was my point earlier about Smith and Celebrini. No matter what they do, it's going to be a very difficult task to entirely change where this team has been. I think what you need to do is separate maybe points and results in the standings from the eye test. How do you 100%. See that part? How do you see that part?
That's exactly true. That's exactly it. Is last year the eye tests were 10-1 and 10-2 on back-to-back nights.
Those were bad games back-to-back.
Yes.
Yeah.
That cannot happen this year. Like strictly, like everybody says it in the room. Mike Greer says it. Ryan Warsofsky says it. I mean, Warsofsky has gone as far, and I do not believe this is a shot at David Quinn. I think this is just in the state of the team. He said we need to rid the scar tissue that was the last couple seasons. Mm-hmm. I don't think he meant just the 2 seasons of David Quinn. I think he just means the overall struggles of the team since the last 5 years have happened. So again, it's not a shot at David Quinn, but that's what we're working with here is we're changing a culture and a team filled with bad habits, a team filled with raw talent that needs to be taught how to win in the NHL. And so if you're more competitive in games, let's say you start losing games at 3-2 or 4-2 with an empty net goal against, instead of getting blown out of the water, 5-1 every other night, like that to me is progress. And you mentioned the points, like they had 19 wins last year. If they get 26 wins this year and they're in almost every single game, they're going to have a clunker. To me, that's progress.
Right. I think to your point, it's more about the losses. Are they competitive losses? You'll actually,
yes, 100%.
And no player is going to say, oh, we'll take that. But from the fan perspective and seeing the progress in the bigger picture, like if there are more competitive losses along the way, and to your point, if you don't have any of those 10-1 defeats back to back, that's a huge step in the right direction. And speaking of Ryan Warsofsky, it's an interesting dynamic because I think one of the main reasons he specifically was brought in and hired for this job, because being the assistant coach on the team, the players actually went in to Mike Greer and spoke up for Ryan Warsofsky during the interview process. And they asked a lot of the players and they said, well, who would you like? Is there somebody in particular? They pointed at him. So it's kind of a interesting opportunity for him in that he knows he's there because the group wanted him there. And so now he's got to reciprocate and drive the bus for them. Seems like a good guy. Seems like he's never coached in the NHL before, head coach wise, but it seems like he's really got it together.
You wouldn't know it's his first time as an NHL head coach in talking with him, other than the fact that he looks younger than most NHL head coaches.
He's older than you, younger than me. Let's be honest. Like he's somewhere between.
It's kind of nice. I get to relate to him a little bit more than David Quinn. Nothing against David Quinn, but it's nice. No, but
well, the players can probably relate to him as well as anybody, right? I mean, former D-man in college, and
yeah, that's one of his talking points when he first got introduced. That was something that I asked him specifically was, "Do you feel this is a benefit to you?" And he said, "Yes." Being able to connect, and again, I'm not trying to slight any of their head coaches, but I don't think or even GMs I don't think Lou Lamoriello knows what TikTok is. Like. Ryan Warsofsky knows that there's Twitter, there's the fan, there's all this going on. And for a team as young as the Sharks, whose average age, when I looked at it today on the NHL site, is 27, that's pretty darn young. And your 2 top players are 19 and 18 years old. You need a guy to help you relate and tell you that that's just social media. That's just outside pressures. It's going to be okay. And he's a guy that I think is really bringing culture. And I've seen growth from him. I mean, he's very intense. He's very specific in what he tells you in his ways, and he's always going to have that. Day-to-day is a big thing for him. He won't reveal much. But in going through things and going through just talking with him over the course of training camp, he's opened up. He's become more of a person. You could see him interacting differently with the media. That can only mean good things with how he's interacting with his players. Yeah. If he's interacting, I think, better with us and opening up, and we're able to, today we started talking a little bit about fantasy football this morning, but he's giving us more. He can connect with his players more, which should bring good things. And he's won at every level.
Yeah, and to that point, I mean, he's gone from assistant to the head coach of the very same team in his career 3 times already. ECHL,
and he's won with those teams.
Yeah, ECHL, AHL, and now the NHL team. So that's a unique opportunity 3 times that Ryan Warsofsky has been promoted from within. Like, he knows how to get that opportunity. He knows how to do good things with it. Yaroslav Askarov, one of the top goalie prospects in hockey. There's no question about it. And how the Sharks got him, so fortunate. UC Saros signed with the Preds, and Yaroslav is looking at that saying, well, I can't get an opportunity here. I don't want to go back to the AHL, find a spot for me. So the Sharks trade for him. I know he's been hurt all camp. I know he's been assigned to the Barracuda. I do think at some point he gets up to the NHL level this year, but I don't think it's as much as people expect, in my opinion, and just the way things play out. And he's got the contract extension, which he signed, but it actually doesn't kick in until next year.
Next year, yep.
So I think for him, somewhere between 10 and 20 starts this year, and I would say probably in the later half of next year. I also want to point this out. You tell me what you think. You don't necessarily want to throw him into the mix of this team yet if you don't have to, especially if you don't know what they look like defensively. I mean, if it really is one of the rougher defensive groups in the league, I don't know that you want him to have to face that like Blackwood already knows how to do.
I agree with you 100% on both takes. I'm in the same boat as 10 to 20 games, and I don't think it's right. It shouldn't be right away. It's not going to be right away because, let's be honest, this defense core is not great, and they're going to work their butts off, but it's not great. You mentioned it. Mackenzie Blackwood played behind it last year and was terrific. Vitek Vanacek looks like he can handle it for at least the start. We'll see. But you mentioned him not wanting to go to the AHL, the minor leagues in Nashville. But what's the difference here? And that's the question, is there's a pathway here to him being a full-time NHL starter. Mackenzie Blackwood and Vitek Vanacek are both free agents at the end of the year. Would I be surprised if one of them comes back and splits with Askarov next year? No. I think that's the plan, to be honest with you. But you need this team to figure out its identity first, because it doesn't have one yet. That's what they're creating before you put a 22-year-old goaltender behind the defense that is the San Jose Sharks.
Yeah. And it's like a lot of things with this team. You want to rush it. We all do. But I think there's an importance to being patient. But it's nice to have one of the top prospects goalie-wise in the league to come up with your group, right? So you're not, at the end, you're not going to have it be an afterthought that you didn't have the goalie that you always wanted. Like, Yaroslav's obviously going to get the opportunity to grow and grow up and glow up with this Sharks group. On the flip side, let's talk about one of the most veteran players, the captain. Logan Couture has not skated since the last game he played, as my last understanding, and that was in January, 5 or 6 games at all last year. It really frustrating. It's the osteitis pubis injury. Deep groin injury is all you need to know. Not good for a hockey player. Where are we even at with this? I'll be honest, I'm close to him. I haven't even really reached out. I'm nervous to know what it really is for him and where he's at. I just don't think it's in a really good spot. It's not his fault. It's just not in a good spot.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the best way to put it, is he's not in a good spot. I think at times this summer he's tried to ramp it up and jump on the ice and can't. It sounded like he had a little bit of a setback over the summer, not to the extent he had last year. But, I've been on the train, and whenever I have friends and family and people talk to me about the Logan Couture situation, all summer he's not done yet. Until I hear him say he's done, he's not done.
Yeah.
But the fact he hasn't skated, and I'm not breaking any news, I'm not saying he's done. I am now not jumping on that train fully, because nothing is for sure. But I'm now on the side of, okay, this sounds and feels like it's career ending. It's not yet. Nothing's confirmed. I have to emphasize that enough so nobody gets mad at me. But there are no signs of progression towards getting on the ice. He's progressing. He said he's able to do day-to-day life, which was not always possible for him. He's able to work out almost every single day. There hasn't been a time where Warsofsky has told us when we've asked, he's not working out. We see him around the rink almost every single day. He's doing his rehab in-house. So he's doing things. He's able to be mobile and move. But it really just sounds like when he's going to ramp up and try and get on the ice, it's just not improving. And it either flares up or he needs to take a couple of days off. And at some point you have to start thinking about daily life. And I think that's where it's trending. But nothing's for sure, and he could get back. We just don't know. Yeah.
And I'll be honest, a personal favorite of mine for a lot of years. My heart hurts for him because this is such I say a freak injury, but it wasn't caused necessarily by one particular thing or another. He couldn't have prevented it. It's hard to come back from. In reverse, maybe I wish he would have sat out the entire last year, but I don't know if that even ultimately, like what amount of rest makes it better or what does make it better. Certainly if there was a cure, he'd already be on that case. So
yeah, he said he's tried a whole bunch of things and we've asked if there's really, it's just a rest and a build. It's a weird injury that it leaves a lot of questions that we wish could be answered, that I think Logan wishes could be answered, but can't.
Tyler Toffoli, we talked about him earlier, that 4-year deal coming over to the Sharks, 33 goals for him last year. And so it's twofold. Number one, the instant offensive production, but veteran leadership, and whether he skates on a Celebrini line for the entire year or a Will Smith line for a majority of the year, no matter where they slot him in, I mean, it's almost like a Ryan Clough-ish type player. Somebody's going to do a little bit of everything. I don't know if Toffoli drops the gloves like Clough used to do, or if the NHL really has that anymore. But it's that kind of guy that's going to help a line, not only in production, but also in some veteran leadership. I really like what he's all about so far.
So do I. And he's got an A on his sweater for home games. So first year player, he's familiar with, I guess he's kind of familiar with being an opponent from the Sharks, playing with the Kings all those years. A lot of years
with Los Angeles,
So he knows kind of what the deal is here when it's going, and it's going well. Because the Sharks-Kings rivalries of years past were electric, and he was part of that.
He was also on Vancouver, I think, when they had some young players coming up. He was also on the Maple Leafs with like Marner and Matthews, I think. I know he was on the Maple Leafs. He was Montreal. Montreal, that's right. Yeah, he's been on 6 or 7.
Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and you look at the same guys, and those are the core key players. I mean, you look at the Marlowe and Matthews and Marner. Fort was there, and you look at where. I mean, Toffoli was with the Flames, who went young, and they moved him to the Devils, who were young. He's done nothing but produce while still being a leader on the team that he plays for. That's about the most perfect free agent signing you can get if you're a Sharks franchise. And to get him locked up for 4 years, and he's on the older age of things, but he's producing. You're not expecting him to go crazy and kill penalties and hit. You're expecting him to lead the team and protect the team and give advice. And he's sitting next to Macklin Celebrini. Only good things can happen. And he's shown, he played a lot more preseason games than I was expecting. I think he played 4.
Right.
And that's a lot because Mikael Granlund played 2.
Yeah.
And he just wants to play and help the team. And that's the gist I'm getting.
Plus the security of 4 years on the deal. It just lets him know that he's here to do this job for a while. And hopefully, honestly, the timing of the 4-year deal can lead him into, this team is like playoff contending again by the end of his contract. And obviously he's getting up there in age in the career too. I also think there's 2 other younger players to discuss here that are going to kind of get lost in the fold. Like we can talk about some elder Sharks players and the youngest Sharks players, but like a William Eklund and a Fabian Zetterlund, they took huge steps last year. And I'm not saying they will get lost in the mix, but let's not forget about them either. Like the strides they took, how important they could be to this team, they alone were signs of encouragement last year. So what are the next steps for them?
Produce.
Yeah.
I mean,
just numbers, right?
Just numbers at this point. Numbers, and continue to grow the details of the game, right? We showed the flashes of it, round out the rest of your game and produce, not just offensively with the numbers, but the defensive metrics, right? Those may not be the sexy, fun numbers that people like looking at online or whatever it is. But to the coaching staff, they want William Eklund to be a responsible player. He's going to get PK time. They want Fabian Zetterlund to be a top power play contributor. There's a reason why he's on the top power play and William Eklund isn't, because he can put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a 1A, probably 1 power play 2, because they've kind of mixed both. There's quality players on both, and that's also the quality of the team. But those 2, it's to continue rounding out the rest of your game and now produce across all areas of the ice and work and show that that the development of the team is working, because I think at some point they're young, but they're going to turn into veterans quickly, and they need to get there by producing, and that's not just numbers wise on offense.
I worry a little bit about the Sharks defense. We talked about this before. And no matter what goalie's in there, and I think Mackenzie Blackwood, honestly, if you really look back at last year, kind of a shame that he didn't get the full season, had a couple different injuries and stints where he was out for a bit. Even that still, one of the most valuable, most important players on the team when he was in there. He kept them in games where, quite honestly, maybe they didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
What do you think the long-term plan is for Blackwood? I mean, I think obviously this year, play him a lot, have him be the backbone. What do you see for him? Because again, I'll say my biggest statement on him is that I wish the Sharks had him 6 years ago.
Yeah.
2017, 2018, 2019. I feel like he's the goaltender that could have helped that prior team. Now he's here, and the rest of the team maybe isn't where it used to be.
Yeah, and from the goalie perspective, we know the long-term plan is Askarov.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mentioned it before, him and Vitek Vanacek are free agents at the end of the season.
Right.
So I know they're high on Blackwood. They think he has potential to be number one goalie. I don't know if they see him as a long-term solution because of the Askarov trade. So it's one of the hardest things to figure out right now is what's the plan with the goalies other than Yaroslav Askarov, because Blackwood was so good last year and showed he could carry a defense that wasn't very good. But now I think in year 2 is, okay, can he put it together? And if he really puts it together, then the decision comes, do you pay him?
Right.
And is he the long term? What about the trade you just made? So there's a lot of question marks, and I think it all boils down to this again. Can he stay healthy? Because that's the knocking point. We've seen the potential. We've seen him carry a team that maybe shouldn't be that good in the Devils his first couple of years. But can he stay healthy, and can he put up the numbers? So hopefully, I expect a slow start as much as they don't want one. I think it's a whole new system, and there's a lot of confusion on the ice in front of Blackwood. So the numbers may not match up and the wins may match up early, and he could play a lot like he did last year. But I'm hoping as the season progresses, he starts getting rewarded for his efforts.
I'm also looking at the veterans on this team. Sharks bring back Barclay Goodrow, a real blast. Not from the too far past, but, from several seasons
back. What's happened?
Yeah, a lot has happened since we last saw Goody. 2020 happened. Nico Sturm, Luke Kunin, Mikhail Granlund, Mario Ferraro, Cody Ceci. This is a Sharks team that is obviously so young, but they do need some type of veteran leadership to show them the way, like on an in and out, every day, night basis. How do you see the oldest group of Sharks players, the most veteran players, and how they're set up to maybe establish like some identity of this team and kind of foster that? And I don't mean to say, well, they're not going to contribute on the ice. Of course, they love that too. How are they set up from just a leadership standpoint?
Well, like Tyler Toffoli, Barclay Goodrow's come in and he's got an A on his jersey. Mm-hmm. He and Toffoli will be the home team assistant captains, with Mario Ferraro, who'll be a captain across every game, home and away. Luke Kunin and Mikhail Granlund, who we've mentioned, to have the A's for the road team. But you mentioned the day-to-day, the ins and outs. That's what Barclay Goodrow's brought in for, is what do you need to do to work? That's a guy who was an overager, undrafted. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He's been a top contributor. He got paid in free agency by the New York Rangers when he was a free agent after he was with the Lightning. That's a guy who knows what it takes to play in the NHL for a long time. And he's not the most offensive guy, but he can contribute every now and again. But he works on the ice. He works off the ice. He knows how to have fun. He knows how to protect his teammates. And I look at the veteran core. Cody Ceci just went to the Stanley Cup final. He may not be the most flashy player, and he honestly has gotten a lot of flack for how he's played.
Yeah.
But for this Sharks team, what he brings is perfect. He brings veteran leader Jan Ruda. He's won a cup. Mario Ferraro is younger, but he has an A. And I think some of this is also to maybe help take a little bit off Mario's plate, because Mario's been an A for, I think, 3 years now, maybe longer.
Yeah.
And for a guy that's just entering year 6 in his career, like, that's a lot. And so you bring in these guys, and you got the guys like Luke Kunin and Mikhail Granlund who were there last year, and they really, you supplement the young core of the Zetterlunds, Eklund, Celebrini, Smiths, Gushchins of the world, Graf, and you've got all these guys in the minors too. And even in the minor leagues, they brought in a lot of people that were vet. Jimmy Schultz, Andrew Podorowski. Like, there's veteran players across all levels of the Sharks organization to help show this young team what it takes to be a winning NHL team, and that's what this team desperately needs.
All right, 2 more things for you. You've been at training camp a bunch. You've seen everything so far, know about everything. Give me a sleeper. Give me a Sharks player that is either known but maybe is about to do something exceeding what they're known for, or somebody that nobody's talking about that maybe you've had your eye on.
Well, from the start of camp, my eye was on Luca Cagnoni, and I think he surprised a lot of people. I actually asked, he didn't make the team.
Right. Okay. We're on the same page.
He didn't make the team. Right, okay. Yes, but I do see him making an NHL appearance this year. I really do.
Okay. All right.
And I don't think he expected that. I don't think anybody expected that. I didn't expect him to be among the last cuts of the Sharks training camp.
Right.
Daniil Gushin, who made the team, has been a very pleasant surprise.
The Goose, yep.
He has shown he was fast. Now he's quick and fast. He's twitchy, right? I know people love the word. He's twitchy. He's got the fast twitch gene where he can kind of do things. He's got a terrific shot. I mean, in the last preseason game, yes, it's preseason. Vegas fielded their full NHL roster, and the Sharks were getting thoroughly dominated. Yet the last 5 minutes of play,
5 points, right?
Yep, 5 assists. He didn't look like he left the ice. It was you go over, you get 10 seconds and go back on the ice. And he got 2 primary assists on the game that make it 5-4 and then 5-5. And then he got the secondary assist on a creative play to turnover and cross ice pass for the game winning goal. He took a spot that was there for him, but he needed to make an impression. He did. So I think the sleeper of camp has been Daniil Gushin.
All right.
But Giovanni Smith is the last guy I'll wrap up with. And
okay.
I'd something that the rest of the media that's around the team has recognized is he's not just some guy who's going to go hit people and punch people. Like, and I'm not saying he's a skill guy, but he's shown an ability to handle a puck, shoot a puck, pass a puck. He's shown an ability to be an NHL player. And I don't think at the start of training camp, when you look at the roster and you look at who might get waived, he was towards the top of the list and he made the team. So I don't expect a lot of offensive from him, but he surprised me.
That's a fair point. And it's somebody that we know already, but you're saying maybe more this year, something we didn't expect. Last thing here is give me any type of prediction you can about this Shark season. And it doesn't have to paint too rosy of a picture or too pessimistic. It could be something big scale, something small scale. I'll give you a second if you need it. But is there something you know about this team that you feel pretty strong on a prediction with?
They'll win the Stanley Cup.
Eventually?
No, I'm kidding. Eventually, yes. Sorry, I got to have the pause. I got to add eventually. No. I think just my prediction of this team is it's going to be a lot more enjoyable to watch.
That's a good one.
That's kind of the theme of this. I know it's not a hot take and it's a crazy take, but I don't. And if I'm being honest with you, I don't see Macklin Celebrini winning the Calder. I think Matvei Michkov of Philadelphia is just so electric. I think Celebrini finishes second. Eastern Conference bias that's fake in my head.
Even though Michkov was the draft pick from 2 years ago, but
he's a rookie.
Didn't play. Right, no, to the point, right. He didn't play last year. People are wondering and saying, wait, look at the last year's draft. Who else would Celebrini be up against? But to your point, it's unique because Matvei Michkov is from last year's draft, or 2 years ago.
Right. I mean, Will Smith is in the same boat as there too.
Exactly.
I think, the rookie race in the NHL is going to be great.
Right.
And the Sharks have 2 of them.
Yeah.
How this is going to be a fun year to watch the team. And that's where it all circles around. It doesn't matter who wins what, but the young players will be fun to watch. And it's going to be fun to watch this team grow. And I'll leave you with this. When I first started covering the team full time, and a lot of people, and I tell people, getting 19 wins and watching them play poorly and every night stinks. They said, well, it's going to be worth it when they start winning again, because then you get to say, you saw the start of it. You went through the struggles with them.
Yep.
Enjoy it. And I think that's what the fan base is going to see this year. It may not be the most winningest team, but it'll be a much more exciting team to watch. And that's all you can ask for at the state of the Sharks right now.
Compelling. That's the one word, the encompassing word. Feel free to use that in all the other pieces I know you'll do.
I will. Anytime I write, I'm writing compelling via Brody Brazil.
And you've been doing a great job, Max Miller. I appreciate you for joining me here.
Of course. Thank you, Brody. Anytime.